Welcome back, Shalligators. Today, we're going to do an update on Ellen DeGeneres. Now, a few months ago, was it a year? No, it was 6 months ago. Time is a flat circle post-corona. We did a video on how to spot a psychopath using Ellen DeGeneres as an example. And do you haters, if you're watching this, remember when you're like, stop being mean to Ellen. She's a nice person. Well. Now everything's hit the fan. There's a billion stories and a billion sources about what an awful nightmare person she is to work for. And who was right? Me. I love to gloat. Welcome to the Gloat channel. But that's not what we're here to do. Just gloat. We're going to break down a little bit more about the mindset of a psychopath. And more than that, how they trick us, how they bamboozle us and seduce us into being on their side, and what it's like to date a psychopath. I'm going to take you through the trajectory of a psychopathic relationship and what you can do to untangle yourself from a person who is very, very bad news, and whether or not you can change them. Because, oh, girls, don't we love to change somebody? But before we get into it, just a reminder to follow me on Instagram at shallonxo for some daily motivation. Also follow me on InStream. It's our secondary platform that's ad-free, uncensored, $2 a month, where we talk about sexy topics. We're going to do a dirty talk tutorial today or tomorrow. I'm going to film it. I'm going to drink a bottle of Kim Crawford and do a dirty talk tutorial. We've going to do some story times over there too. And I always want to know your other sexy topics that you want to see. So head on over there. So there weren't a lot of amazing benefits to being in quarantine, but one I realized was the lack of flexing. Suddenly, the labels you're wearing, the brands you're repping, whatever, it didn't matter. No one was seeing them. So I don't know about you, but I started choosing products and looks and all this stuff that actually made sense for my life versus what might look cool. And a big shift was ditching Apple AirPods. So done with their expensive ass, so done with how fragile and sensitive they are, and if you lose one, you want to put a bullet in your head. It's a nightmare. So now I use Raycon earbuds. I love these things. First of all, they're rose gold, hello, so on board. They're so much more hardy. They last longer, they have incredible noise reduction, and the price point is absolutely unbeatable. These are the everyday E25 earbuds. Love them. They pair so easily. And one thing I also love is how flat they lay. I can put them in my ear. Oh yeah. And I can literally go to sleep. I like to sleep with music. I also don't like to hear the dude I'm dating snore, so this accomplishes so much. And like I said, they don't fall out. And even if you would lose one, they're so affordable, they're so easily replaceable. So if you want to get 15% off the Raycon Everyday E25 earbuds, go to buyraycon.com/shallonxo. That's buyraycon.com/shallonxo for 15% off the Everyday E25 earbuds. So let's talk Ellen. So the shit has hit the fan. I burned myself making pizza. The shit has hit the fan, and it's obvious that she is a complete nightmare because every story that comes out about her is all identical. No one can look her in the eye. This one girl who was a contestant on the show, she was participating in some game where they wet you down and make you win money. I don't know, man. I don't watch the show. She's they told us don't be funnier than Ellen, don't be smarter, speak when spoken to, was all these weird rules. And if you've never been on a TV show, right? If you've never worked on a set, either as a guest on a show or a crew member, you might not understand the context of saying things like that. Let's start with her not wanting people to make eye contact. Are you allowed to make eye contact with your boss at work? How about your coworkers? Probably, right? You might not love your boss. He might be a complete asshole. But if you look at them and speak to them, you don't get the glare of 1,000 daggers, right? That's Ellen's vibe. I have been on many TV shows. I've had my own TV show on MTV. And the concept that the principal, I was a star of the show, would have this distance between me and the crew, or me and the other people, me and the pages, the assistants, is... It's insane. It is categorically insane. And it's not because I wasn't a big star. I've been on the set I do Wendy Williams all the time. She is brothers and sisters with all of her staff. And Wendy's kind of kooky, but I love her. I love her. So I just want you to know that if you're trying to give some justification, it's well, that's just how it is on a set. I'm telling you, it isn't. It is not. And that's why she's an outlier. And that's why these stories are coming out. And that's why her crew is lambasting her. And that's why crews from other shows aren't like, you guys, but like none of us talk to like Conan O'Brien and none of us talk to Jimmy Fallon or Tina Fey. That's not it. This is an Ellen thing. This isn't a Hollywood thing. This isn't a set thing. This is an Ellen problem. Why? I have said before, I believe Ellen is a bit of a psychopath. And psychopathy, like many disorders, it's a scale, it's a spectrum. And there's a lot of theories about what creates a psychopath. Like, is it born? Are they made? Because a lot of us empathetic people want to be like, oh, they must have had a hard childhood and, that's what made them this way. Girl, no. It goes to, the pervasive thought is two things. Spindle neurons, which we've talked about here before. Spindle neurons create empathy. So if you have too many spindle neurons, you're like a depressive emo kid. You feel everything, right? If you have not enough, you're psychopathic or sociopathic. There's another, like, not theory, but it's kind of accepted that psychopathy relates to the underdeveloped paralimbic center of your brain and amygdala underdevelopment. Is it amygdala or amygdala? Because the Brits say amygdala and Americans say amygdala, and I don't know, but it's a part of your brain. The point is, it's coming from in here. It's not coming from out here. You can have attachment disorders that are created by poor upbringing, things like that, trauma, for sure, and that can make you act crazy and psycho and whatever, but that is not a brain chemistry. That's not a brain thing. And you think like, oh, it's a brain thing, like depression, we can fix it with medication. You can't. You can't grow neurons. You cannot grow a conscience. People who are psychopaths and sociopaths are what they are, and they are extremely dangerous. We can't fix them. We can't change them. We can't love them into something better. We can only get the fuck away from them because they will destroy you. It's a rule of war. I mean, interpersonal war, not like Sun Tzu war. The people who care the least win, right? If you're in an argument with someone, you're dealing with a guy or a guy's dealing with you and he doesn't care where this relationship goes, he's got the power. He's got the upper hand. A psychopath does not give a fuck about you as a person, and so they are always going to have the upper hand in interpersonal dealings. But let's talk about their mindset and their psychology a little bit more. There was a study in 2013 that sought to understand them, and they studied 400 college students and they measured them on emotional response to like hand signals. Like, oh, can you tell like what this person is doing? Do you feel empathetic towards like what this emotion is that this person, this picture is displaying, right? They're like grief or like happiness or whatever. And then they measured the psychopathy of those people. And they found a correlation, unsurprisingly, higher psychopathy, less like empathy towards what they were looking at. And then they asked people who tested kind of high on the psychopathy, try to empathize with them. Try to understand what they're feeling. And they're like, all right. Oh, they're feeling anxious. Yeah, I get that. Okay. And the conclusion was psychopathy in that mentality is not necessarily a matter of incapability. They're not capable of feeling these things. They are not motivated to feel these things. And ooh, girl, if you're dating a psychopath right now, you know what I bet you're saying? I just have to motivate him to feel empathy for me. What a fucking headache. What a waste of your time. I just need to motivate someone to care whether or not I live or die. No, girl. No. Bitch. No. You need someone who actually organically cares. And they're out there. There's 8 billion people in the world. Don't waste your time on one psychopath. But I did think it was very interesting that it was like motivation based. And we see this with Ellen. She's come out with like, well, she hasn't really come out and said anything, but apparently she did a Zoom call with her staffers and to try to like smooth things over because shit is hitting the fan. Like she might get canceled. She might get replaced. Like people are not here for this. I'm opening my bubbly. Do you know that the first people to make this can was Pepsi? And when they made it, the engineers, this was in like, I don't know, 1920 or something, the engineers we're trying to make that sound quieter. And the owner was like, no. I want that sound to be loud so that it carries and it gives this like Pavlovian thing for everyone hearing it. And they're like, oh, is that a can of soda opening? I want a can of soda. I want a Pepsi. Smart. So these things get louder and louder. And if you're like someplace and you hear it open, you're like, ooh, that seems refreshing. I want it. Marketing. Anyway, back to Psychopaths. So Ellen did this Zoom call, and in it, because one of the staffers ratted her out to Page Six, and they told Page Six that Ellen was like, I have no idea where this insane no eye contact rule came from. I want you to talk to me. I want you to look at me. First of all, is that not gaslighting 101, right? We've all worked places, or we've all had a friend, or we've all dated someone, or been part of a family, and there are rules, and then they're like, rules. You know what I mean? There's like the tacked on the wall rules of conduct, and then there are the tacit, unspoken, but everybody follows them rule. It's like, we don't talk to Hannah about her drinking. That's a tacit, unspoken rule. We don't ask Mr. Jones for a raise like after 4 p.m. Like, this is how society operates. Not every rule is like written on a whiteboard. Her staff knows not to make eye contact with her based on results. One of my best friends worked for her. Hey, Kay. Hey, KK. And she was like 25 years old. She was a page, which is kind of like an intern. And so they rotated around from like the Jay Leno show, Telemundo, like, another show, and Ellen. And they were just like every day they would maybe be working on a different show or something. They just kind of get staffed the day of. And she's like, everyone told me when I went in, watch out for Ellen. You don't want to work on that show. She's mean. You are not allowed to look at her. You will never speak to her. And my friend was like, but I'm so sweet. Everyone loves me. And everyone literally does love her. She is just a ball of sunshine. And she's like, I made the mistake one time of like, Ellen was about to go on and I was like in the back with a clipboard, just standing there. And she happened to look over and I was like, just a smile. Not like, hey, how are you? Do you want to come hang out with me? Just a random professional smile. And she's like, the look she gave me, I will never forget it for the rest of my life. It was a look of evil. I want that girl dead. She's like, I've never seen anything like it. My friend lives in New York. Okay, we're not always friendly, like smiley people. And she's like, and I clearly wasn't the only one. She's like, I saw her do it to many other people. And it's not like when I worked on the Jay Leno show, it was just like a love fest and we're all hanging out and doing this. But you'd be like, hey, what's up? How are you? Just smiling backstage as you would smile at your coworker in the hallway. Oh, hey, at the water cooler. What's up, Jim? Whatever. Ellen wasn't like that. So for her to be like, I don't know where this came from. It came from behavioral responses, sweetheart. And again, it's gaslighting. It's like, I'm not the crazy one. You guys are the collective crazy one. You're somehow all crazy in the precise same way on the precise same issue. I'm the only one who's telling the truth. You're all insane. So she's trying to do some damage control. So let's go through some of the psychopathy checklist. Now, Dr. Robert Hare came up with this. There's a Hare psychopathy checklist. And what's funny? When I do videos like this talking about psychology, people are like, you're not a doctor. No shit, I'm not a doctor. I know that. I'm a YouTuber. But you know what I am? I'm literate. This information is available to anybody. It's not locked in a vault someplace underground in Nevada. You can simply read these studies. And I do. And then I pass it on to you. Wild how the sharing of information works. Wow. Okay. So people who have psychopathy demonstrate thought patterns and behaviors that reflect power seeking, a preoccupation with winning. This is important. Proneness to agitation, meanness, anger, exploitation, like you're using people, a lack of shame, guilt, or remorse, narcissism, stimulation seeking and impulsivity, low or no empathy, minimal ability to bond, deception, and lying. Now, we don't know that much about Ellen personally. I've never hung out with her. You probably haven't either. So I don't know if she checks all these boxes. But in our other video, we went through the checklist that got a little bit more nuanced and we're like, ooh, girl. And we cited a lot of examples. Further, people with psychopathy who filter information through a basic framework of winner versus loser, powerful versus weak, Us versus them, me versus you. And even the celebrities who've gone on her show underscore this. Oh, you're not the Jonas Brothers, you're Nikki Tutorials. I'm on the Jonas Brothers team. I'm Ellen. I have to align myself with whoever the biggest star is on the show. And it's not you, bitch. So go use like the bathroom at the Texaco station down the street. Right? These themes keep coming up. Winner, loser, power, weak, me, you, us, them. They see the world in a very binary black and white way. And because of that, they are not able to have nuanced, healthy relationships. And one thing psychologists wanted to know about psychopaths, are they happy? I've always wanted to know that. Like, are they happier? And some days, you know, if I've gotten my heart broken or someone's mean to me and I'm in my feels, I think, fuck, I wish I was a psychopath. Like, I would just be insulated from all of this. I just wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. I could manipulate this fuckboy. I could get what I wanted from this boss. I wouldn't care. And so they did a lot of studies on, are psychopaths happy? The factor of happiness for a human being is healthy interpersonal relationships. That's what makes a happy person. Healthy family relationships, friends, lovers, a place of societal belonging, right? We talk about that a lot, how we as human beings, our social inclusion needs are the highest need that we have outside of food and shelter. We have to belong. Psychopaths don't belong. They don't have the depth to create those healthy relationships. They can cosplay as they are, and we're going to get into this in a second, but it's beneath the surface, there's just more surface. They can manipulate someone into being obsessed with them and loving them. They don't feel it in return. And that tells me that what we need out of love is not to be loved. We need to be able to give love in order to be happy. It's not, I'm collecting hearts and I need the adoration. Psychopaths are very adept at that. They're very good at it. We'll get into it. But if we don't have the ability to have those nuanced connections, that doesn't mean anything. And these studies found, many studies, overwhelmingly, psychopaths are not happy people. They report higher dissatisfaction with their relationships, more agitation, more anxiety. But not anxiety in like the way normal people have anxiety, like, oh, people aren't going to like me. It's simply dissatisfaction. They don't know what else to call it. So how do psychopaths win us over? Because they sound so shitty, you know, like once we've broken all this down, it's like, they have a very binary way of looking at the world and they're only out to exploit people and they're miserable. And very few of us are like, tell me more. Like, we don't want these people in our lives, and yet they are in our lives. I guarantee there's a psychopath somewhere in your orbit right now, especially if you clicked on this video. And the trajectory I'm about to tell you is A is B, B is not always A. You know, you can have people who do these things who are not psychopaths, but every psychopath does do these things. Am I making sense? Anyway, so let's break this down. Psychopaths get us in two phases. Love bombing and withdrawal. Give and take. Give and take is the relationship that makes the entirety of the world function. Economically, it's supply and demand, right? Oh, I didn't want that shirt until I found out it was sold out. Ooh, I want those like cool new 112s. Okay, so my friend's company makes really cool custom sneakers. It's called 112s.com. They're like custom Air Force Ones, I think. I'm not like a sneaker person, but they're really cool. It's like on the swoosh, it's like Gucci instead. Check them out. Anyway. What was I talking about? Supply and demand. Yeah. When we talk about war, it's a push and pull. When we talk about interrogation, when we talk about training, I'm trying to train horses, I'm trying to train a dog. The give and take, it's pressure and release. I'm going to put pressure on you to do something and I'm going to release it and see if you do what I want. This is how we interrogate people. This is how we shape people to do what we want. And psychopaths take this and they turn it all the way up, right? They turn this all the way up to 10. So let me read to you from an article by Dr. Rhonda Freeman. She wrote a book called Neurosagacity. Fascinating. Cool. So she describes phase 1 of a psychopathic seduction as: the pursuit or chase of a new partner by someone with psychopathy can be unrelenting. Their attraction and lust are likely genuine. It seems they have the capacity for such motivational states. However, They may also decide to engage in grooming, which is manipulation, right? Deception and exploitation tactics as well. It is often during this time of romantic bliss that their partner develops a connection with them. Who wouldn't? This is the natural process of falling in love. But in unions of this type, only one person forms a deep bond, and it's not the person with psychopathy. We as human beings want to be overwhelmed. I'm getting ready for Evil Week, and I'm rereading The Art of Seduction. And it is this big. It is a textbook. There's a million sidebars. Has all these addendums and appendices. It's a lot. But one central theme is people want to be overwhelmed. They want to be released from the day-to-day drudgery, from their own anxieties and their own worries. They want to be swept away. And in fact, doctors have found that many, many, many unwanted and unplanned pregnancies are a result of the swept away phenomenon. I was just swept away in the moment. We were just swept away. We didn't want to stop for a condom. We were swept away, swept away. We want to be pulled out of what we know and completely subsumed. That takes away our feeling of responsibility. I didn't have to make a decision and it's swept away. It takes away our anxiety and our constant rumination. Should I do this? Should I do that? Doesn't matter. You don't have that choice anymore. That's why people like bondage. That's why people have not weird rape, weird. That's why. Because it takes away their responsibility, and life is full of responsibility. It's full of constant decision making. A psychopath preys on this. Hey, you're not going to decide where we're going to dinner. I am planning this whole week. I'm planning this whole weekend. I don't care if you're tired. I'm coming over. You don't have to sit there and should I let him come over and then I'm going to have to set my alarm and blah, blah, blah. It's just happening to you. And there is a certain struggle and there is a certain relief, right? There's freedom in that overwhelmingness. But then comes phase the second, right? Revenge necklaces, twisting. Oh, brother. A person with psychopathy does not establish real connection. They're bored easily, and lacking the ability to genuinely connect, their relationships are disposable. After that point, for them, the worthiness of their mate is related to his or her value from a superficial standpoint. Staying with their partner is usually more of a logical decision rather than one anchored in feelings. Like, does she make me look good? Am I too bored to tolerate this? What's the payoff for me now? Is she rich? Is she hot? Does she have clout? Is she verified on Instagram? Is she a YouTuber named Shallon Lester? Quite often, the relationship takes a drastic turn during the second phase, and the partner/victim might find themselves exposed to abuse, manipulation, and lies. These dark, inappropriate behaviors can be perplexing because they bear no resemblance to the initial phase. It is during this time that individuals can become caught on an emotional roller coaster of ups and downs. Haven't we all been there? You know the song Better Man by Little Big Town? Taylor Swift wrote it, and it is one of the greatest breakup songs in the world because one of the lines is hoping it might turn sweet again like it was in the beginning. And if we have not all been there, it's we had such a great first date. Why is he ghosting? We had 3 wonderful months. I don't understand what happened. And I've said before, sometimes beneath the surface, there's just more surface. We, as deep, complex, individual, wild, bad bitches, we can have one deep conversation, and that means we can have 1,000. We have depth. Some people, they only have one good date in them. They only have one good month. They only have one good sex session, and then they max the fuck out. And we've used this in the past as the talking dog metaphor. It doesn't matter what question you ask a dog. What time is it? Tell me the principle of Archimedes. What's your favorite color? It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how nicely you ask or how much you beg or how much you threaten. That dog is never going to answer you because it cannot. It can stamp its paws, and that's it. It's maxed out. And we look at a dog's inability and we don't take it personally. Oh my God, if I was just a better person, that dog would be having a conversation with me. We don't think that. We understand the limitations of that dog. We don't understand the limitations of people. And some talking dogs, some people that we encounter with these limitations are simply simpletons. They're emotionally kind of low intelligence. They're sort of immature. But they're not evil, but they're just like, they are what they are. Some of them are psychopaths. And you can tell the difference because of the love bombing and then the withdrawal. And then it's that exploitative reason for still staying with you. I'm staying with her because she's rich and she pays for all the trips, right? I'm staying with her because she lets me have sex with her whenever she wants. Exploitation. If you think you're being exploited, remove that thing. Oh, my dad cut off my credit card. Sorry, we can't go to the lake house. I'm on my period for the next 65 days. See what they do. Do they stick around? And oh my God, isn't it painful if they don't? Oh, like I'm getting nauseous just thinking about it. Because we've all been in that situation. We've all been in the situation where we're like, I think this person's using me. And it's the most awful thing because it goes right to the heart of those social inclusion needs. I'm not actually in this tribe. I am disposable to this tribe. And this tribe is going to kick me out. And then I'm going to freeze to death and get eaten by a woolly mammoth. I don't even know if they eat people, but they're going to eat me. It goes back to our caveman brain, right? It goes to the deepest core of fear that we have as human beings, social rejection. And we want to believe that the bonds we have with people are real and that they're deep and they are as nuanced and as warm as the bonds we are giving them. But that's not always the case. And the longer we stay hooked into people like that, the worse it's going to get. The longer it's going to be until we find our actual tribe, until we find people who actually aren't going to kick us out into the jaws of a woolly mammoth. Do you know that there was a woolly rhinoceros? Fascinating. Fascinating. It looks really cute, actually. Anyway, I'm very into dinosaurs. There's a lot of dinosaur bones in Montana. If you come here, go to the Museum of the Rockies. It's so dope. Anyway, what can we do to untangle ourselves? Well, Dr. Freeman has some ideas. Some I like, some I'm like, Number one, realize that though it's unfortunate, people with psychopathic traits are incapable of validating and reciprocating the deep emotions of others. You can't change them. Talking dog, right? Talking dog. People who move really fast and they have a limited emotional range, this is not good. Number two, recognize there's no excuse for bullying or harming others. I mean, just kidding. We're not responsible for someone else's decision to choose violating behaviors. Those with psychopathy are neurobiologically prone to cause harm, but they are choosing to engage in bad behavior. They know the difference between right and wrong. So they're hardwired to do this, but they're also human beings living in the world, and they know, you shouldn't hit someone, you shouldn't shoot someone, you shouldn't rape someone, you shouldn't call someone a dummy. They do it anyway because they lack that empathy, and because they're operating on that binary system of me versus you, winner versus loser, power versus weak, and that is never, ever going to work in your favor. Ever. Even if you think, but I'm his ride or die, and it's us against the world. No, baby girl, it's him against the world. You are still part of the world. No matter how close you think you are to him and how much he says he loves you, at the end of the day, he will throw you out like Kleenex. He will toss you under the bus if that construct comes down to power differentials and you are going to be on the wrong side of it. Okay. Another tip to get out of all this bullshit. Our brain thrives when it feels a connection with others. Social support with healthy, loving people can help the brain release oxytocin, not OxyContin, a neuropeptide associated with reducing anxiety, oxytocin, among numerous other roles. Spend time with your friends, family, pets, people who love you. Rebuild that social network, rebuild those social connections, and re-release the oxytocin instead of the anxiety and the cortisol, the anxiety and the stress hormone. This is a chemistry situation now. You got to balance this shit out. Be open to help from mental health professionals. Go to therapy, girl. Remember that it's normal to feel extremely bonded to a former partner soon after a relationship ends. Normal. You're gonna miss them. It's not a sign, though, that the person held a special status or was your soulmate. The brain often generates obsessive thoughts, cravings, and pain when a relationship is over due to the neurochemistry associated with separation and romantic love. When we get our hearts broken, it activates the exact same pain parts of our brain associated with death and grief and withdrawal. We cannot handle it. Conversely, when we're in love, the parts of our brain associated with decision making and logic shut down. They just shut the fuck down. We're like, I love that lacrosse captain. We cannot make decisions, right? I mean, we can though. And it's a matter of practice. It has to become muscle memory. Our behaviors have to override what like our stupid brain chemistry and our fear brain might be telling us. And last but not least, consider art. Okay. Many studies show that things like art, exercising, dancing, walking, appreciating nature have a positive impact on the regions of the brain associated with emotions and stress. You know the key word here that we've heard? Brain. Brain. We like to think that love just happens and seduction just happens, and I don't know. This article and this video show that there are actual physical things we can do to increase positive brain chemistry. And on the other hand, there's things happening in a psychopath's brain that we cannot change. We cannot change these things. So what's the TLDR? It's too late if you're already in this and already read it. It's taking too long. You're not going to change these people. You're not going to change them. You're not going to fix them. They don't want to be fixed, and they can't be. And even if you think, oh, we're going to go to therapy. Therapy is literally the worst thing you can do for a psychopath or a sociopath because it's like finishing school for them. It just teaches them how to act a little bit better. Like we said in the beginning, that experiment where they're like, now pretend that you care. You know, or like, I'm going to motivate you to act empathetic towards this person. They're like, oh, okay. All that does is teach them, oh, this is the appropriate response. And so this is how I'm going to act in order to get people to do what I want, to be a better, more efficient puppet master. Cut your losses. And maybe the fuckboy you're dealing with, the love bomber, maybe he's not a psychopath. I mean, he was a good guy and someone hurt him. Bitch, are you kidding? Someone hurt him. Someone hurt you, sweetheart. Someone hurt all of us. I had my first broken heart at like 6, okay? I don't go out and spew venom to everybody that I date and hurt them and love bomb them and take them away and abuse. We don't do that. We don't do that. Why are you accepting that behavior into your life? No. Guys do not get a whole separate rubric of behaviors that they get to abide by. No. Your pain is not normal, acceptable collateral damage, just the price of doing business for a man's growth. Absolutely not. Because if you are in a construct where that's kind of what he's telling you with his behaviors or with flat out, you could be dating a psychopath and you are never going to change them. They are never going to come around. They are never going to be who you want and who you deserve. So cut your losses. For more, click like and subscribe. We're going to be doing more videos this week. Find me on Instagram. And like I said, find me on InStream for some sexy little tutorials. Bye, Shalligators. Mwah!